You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
DJ Matrix.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, I love going back to the beginning. I always say at the beginning, you know, chart our trajectory in life, our little habits we pick up along the way, follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And when did the love for, you know, for music and being a DJ started?
Childhood. You know what? I've done quite a few interviews the last month or so since I dropped Hypnotic, and I've never been asked that one about my childhood. But thanks for asking that, because I had a great childhood, actually.
Nice.
I grew up in LA, deep in the heart of LA, South Central, in the hood. But my early years were some of the best years in memory. A lot of friends, a lot of family. You know, and those earlier years were before things got a little crazy in LA. But, you know, all of my memories are great memories, you know. Bunch of kids playing out in the street, you know, no worries about people coming and, you know, trying to, you know, put drugs in our hands or kidnap anybody or anything like that. It was just a good time, you know. And as far as the music, I grew up in music. My mom, my stepdad, they were both singers, and they were pretty good. They put some records out themselves back in the day. They toured with the OJs and the Spinners, and you know, they good classic R&B sound. And everywhere I looked, everywhere, you know, there was just music everywhere. So you know, it's in my blood.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's beautiful. I mean, and you know, LA, you know, it got some so many artists, known artists from there that come out of there, that are in music. Did you know, like, you know, for me, I got to an age where I was like, okay, yeah, this is the path. I'm gonna definitely do this. Like, when did you know, okay, I want to be a DJ, and I'm not gonna do anything else?
All right, so this is actually one of the best parts of my story and my journey. You mentioned, you know, some big names coming out of LA. Well, about 10 blocks from where I grew up, the Egyptian Lover grew up.
Wow.
And he's featured on Hypnotic. But you know, when I was in high school, Egyptian Lover was part of this crew called Uncle Jam's Army, and they put on the biggest parties you've ever seen. They would sell out the LA Sports Arena. So we're talking, you know, thousands and thousands of people coming out for them. And Egyptian Lover was one of the key members and one of the key DJs. And he inspired me to want to become a DJ.
Mm.
And I started, it's crazy. I started learning how to DJ with a one of those old component sets with the where it was integrated with the tape deck, and the turntable was on top of it. It was all one piece of equipment. And I used to make mixtapes using the pause button on the cassette deck.
Wow.
And I come up and my family, we didn't have much, I come from nothing pretty much, and couldn't afford, two turntables. So I basically improvised with one.
Right.
Play a few seconds of a song, hit the pause button, pick another section of the song, start it, record it, hit the pause button. But I did pretty well with that thing. So I started to make a little bit of name for myself. And when I was finally able to get a full, DJ setup, two turntables, a mixer, and the speakers and everything like that, Egyptian Lover released Egypt, Egypt. And when I heard Egypt, Egypt, that was the spark that made me feel like, hey, I want to actually make music. I don't want to just be a DJ.
Yeah.
But right about that time, I talked earlier about my earlier years out there. Everything was cool and,
And that was like
and all
80s,
that.
right? 80s, right? Around that time.
Well, my early years were in the 70s, but when I was in high school, my senior year, in 1984, you know, right in that area, early 80s is when crack started to make an appearance,
Mm.
and things got crazy, and I had friends and family dropping from gunfire, and
Mm.
drug deals gone bad and all that kind of stuff, and I needed to get out of there,
Yeah.
so 11 days after I graduated high school, I joined the Navy.
Oh, nice.
um,
Thank you for your
and
service.
Appreciate that. And when I was in the Navy, I was lucky to be stationed kind of close to home. I was stationed up near Fresno, California, which was only about a 3.5 hour drive back home. So I would come home all the time when I could. But I took the DJing with me, and started, DJing some little barbecues on base and stuff. And a couple people, saw what I could do, and I actually got lucky and ended up being a DJ at the club on base on the
Nice.
weekends. Yeah, so and I got better and better while I was in the military. So those earlier years again, kind of groomed me for what was to come. But when I was in the military, I went in at 17, but I grew up pretty quick. First time away from home by myself, in the military will definitely, make a man out of you or a woman out of you very, very fast.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. And I think, when you said, when that song, when the Egyptian Lover, Egypt came out, and that's like 80s. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, I think 80s had some really good, that was like, the music then was just so different than what it is now. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean, music actually, meant something back then, man. I mean,
yeah.
the when you listen to the lyrics of that era, again, they had meaning. Today, it's just, I don't know, man. I mean, I love music,
Yeah.
but it's just not what I would like to be hearing on the radio a lot of time.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm starting to see kind of though, and feel like there's kind of a resurgence
Mm.
of the 80s style trying to come back, and I want to be a big part of that. And when we a little further into this interview, I'll talk about what brought me back. But first, let me talk about what got me going, and what kind of derailed my career a little bit, if you don't mind me kind of
Yeah. Yeah, please.
going there. But like I said, I was in the Navy. And as a DJ, I couldn't find vinyl anywhere really, really close to the base. So I would have to drive to Fresno, and there was a record store that I bought all of my vinyl from. It was called Jam City Records, and I got real close with the owner, and he ended up hiring me to be the opening DJ for some of the acts that he was bringing into town. And he used to do some big parties, just like Uncle Jam's Army did. but he would do his parties at the Fresno Fairgrounds. And I remember the first big show that I did, I was opening for Two Live Crew, Freestyle, a bunch of those guys that kind of started the whole Miami bass thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I started to dig that as well. So after that show, we went back to the record shop, and I don't remember what song was playing in the store, but I was playing the beat with my hands on the counter, and the owner, his name is Alan. He said, "Man, if I put a drum machine in your hand, would you be able to recreate that beat?" And as a kid, I was a drummer. I was self-taught, but I ended up playing drums in the church when I was 6 years old,
Nice.
and it just never stopped. I mean, the beat has always been in me. So when he asked that question, I was like, "Man, this is easy." So he took me in the back, and he had a drum machine, but this was my first time ever really seeing a drum machine up close, and I didn't really know how to program it, but he called his engineer in there, taught me a few things, and
Nice.
in a few minutes I created that beat for him. And he was like, "Man, listen, I got this new record label, and I'm calling it Jam City Records, like the record store, and you're like the type of artist that I've been looking for. Would you consider, putting some music out?" And I said, "Man, yeah, it's a dream of mine, but I'm in the
Yeah.
military, and
Yeah.
I won't be able to travel. I won't be able to really promote and do live shows and stuff like that." And he was like, "Right now that doesn't matter to me. I just want to get some music out there." So long story short, you know, he put me in the studio, and again, I had never learned how to, read or write music. I'd never known how to play a keyboard,
Mm-hmm.
especially with two hands. So I literally had to teach myself how to do all of it.
Wow.
And again, it's just, it was an amazing thing, and I give it all to God to give me that gift. But I picked it up, very, very quickly. And within a few weeks, I completed my first single, "It's Time to Rock."
Nice.
And "It's Time to Rock" came out, and that was a great experience, man. I mean, I had never been on the receiving end of that kind of attention and
Yeah.
love, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. So it wasn't about money for me at the time. I knew I wasn't going to be able to really get out there and max out because of my military situation, but I had a blast. But you fast forward a couple of years, I got out of the Navy in '88, and right before I did, the label, "It's Time to Rock" was doing well, and the label started to feel the pain of me not being able to be out there doing
Mm.
live shows. He was losing some money
Yeah.
behind that. So, I told him, I was like, "Look, man, do what you got to do. I just appreciate the opportunity." And he was like, "All right." And I put "It's Time to Rock" out under the name Matrix. He
Nice.
said, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to put somebody else in the studio, and I'm gonna have to, allow them to use your name. Your contract, states that we own the name, so I'm gonna have to keep that momentum going." I was like, "Man, no problem." So when I got out of the Navy, I decided I was going to start my own label, and I
Right.
formed Bad Boy Records before Puffy had Bad Boy Entertainment, and I just put DJ in front of Matrix, so I
Yeah.
put out Feel My Bass as DJ Matrix. And Feel My Bass, was, in my opinion, a much stronger song than It's Time to Rock. It's Time to Rock is kind of like, it was almost experimental for me. That's what I learned. That's what, I was learning how to make music then. When I
Yeah.
put out Feel My Bass, I was a little bit, better at it. And I was more proud of that song than I was of It's Time to Rock. But it's Feel My Bass came out, and it was starting to gain some traction. But at the same time, I wasn't really making any real money, and I had a very young family. I had two kids at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to make a decision on what I was going to do to provide for the family, because the music really wasn't doing it.
Right.
And my fear was, that type of music, when I put out Feel My Bass, it was starting to give way to hip hop. Hip
Mm.
hop was really making its way west at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, you had New Jack Swing, and house was coming. So I was never a singer or a rapper. I was more of a beat creator and a producer. And I just felt like that type of music wasn't gonna carry me. So I made the decision, instead of putting all my eggs in the music basket, I made the decision to go back into the military for
Nice.
stability. But I didn't go back in the Navy. I went into the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So I became a Marine, and I never really thought about the music in the first couple of years I was in the Marine Corps. But then Desert Storm happened. The Gulf War broke out, and I was an air traffic controller in the Marine Corps. And when Desert Storm, or Desert Shield before Desert Storm, when that happened, we had to go over there and start setting up the airfields and everything like that, and flying all the equipment in and all the troops and everything like that. So in my eyes, the music was definitely, in the rear view. It was just no way.
Right.
So you know that was kind of the end of the music situation for me. And then you fast forward 36 years,
Wow.
and I get a message from another artist out of the UK, out of London, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you the same Demetrius Ford?" That's my name, Demetrius Ford, that was also DJ Matrix, back in the 80s, that put out Feel My Bass. And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Man, listen, the Egyptian Lover has an army of people out there searching for you right now. Do you mind if I give him your contact information?" And I was like, "By all means." Now, again, when I heard Egyptian Lover, I
Yeah, you're
was
like,
like,
oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I didn't know what he wanted to talk about, but I was like, "Hey, yeah, hell yeah, I want to talk to him."
Yeah.
And then so a couple days go by, and we connect, and he basically said that he was getting ready to do a series of 3 albums, called 1985, 86, and 87.
Nice.
And he wanted to feature me, and wanted me to collab, on the album.
Love that.
And I was excited as hell, but then I got, real nervous and anxious at the same time, because I was like, "Man, look, I mean, I haven't done anything in music in almost 40 years, man.
Wow.
And I don't know if I'm still that guy. I mean, I just, I really appreciate the opportunity, but I just don't know what I'm going to be able to, do for you." So he was like, "Man, listen, do you know that Feel My Bass is still, being played all over Europe, all over the world, and
Yeah.
and and you still have a pretty big fan base, and people are dying for you to come back." And I was like, "What?" Because I didn't make a nickel off of those
You're
songs,
like, how, where, when?
right? I mean,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
I left it in the rear view and
Yeah.
never followed up, because, again, I didn't hear it on the radio. Nobody was talking about it. I just felt like, that was because I couldn't really promote it, and I couldn't perform it. So it just died. I just thought it
Wow.
was, so I explained that to him. He's like, "Man, I'm getting ready to send you some links. And then I want you to, hit me back after you, read these look through these sites that I'm gonna send you, and pay attention to the comments." So he sent me 4 YouTube links of my song "Feel My Bass." I had no idea that they even existed. I never Googled my name. I never Googled my songs. I'm telling you, when I left it in the review, I really did forget about it. And so I'm starting to look at these sites, and I'm looking at the comments, and I'm telling you that they brought me to tears.
Oh,
I
I love
saw
that.
people talking about how they had won national or international breakdance competitions to Feel My Bass. How it was, in their opinion, was the best song ever, and how could he, make a song like this and just disappear without a trace? We need him back. The music
Oh,
industry needs DJ Matrix, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like blown away. So I reached back out to him, and I was like, "Man, I had no idea." And he said, "Listen, man, it's like riding a bike.
yeah.
If you start to put a studio together, and just, put your mind to it, I'm sure, you can come up with something that'll excite your fans." And I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, man." give me a little bit of time. Let me see, what I can do. Now, in the meantime, over those 36 years, when I left the Marine Corps, I became a stockbroker and then ended up owning my own firm that was focused on helping women and minorities with better
Wow,
access to
it's
capital. And
beautiful.
I raised hundreds of millions of dollars for minority and women businesses.
Beautiful.
Um, I ended up owning two minority minor league basketball teams, one that played in the ABA, one that played in the CBA.
Nice.
My ABA team, the Florida Pit Bulls, which was 2005, 2006, I pulled NBA Hall of Famer Tim Hardaway out of retirement. He
Nice.
played for me as a player, coach, GM. So I did all of these different things.
Yeah.
And when the music thing came back to me through Egyptian Lover, I had a very, very full plate. I had a lot of investors that were dependent on me to,
Yeah.
to get deals done and all this other kind of stuff. So, but I was like, you know, I'm almost 60 years old, but I got an
Wow, you look
opportunity here.
amazing. Holy crap.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But I was like, I got a shot, to finish what I started almost 40 years ago. And what was bigger than that was the fact that all my kids, I got three kids and they're all grown, but none of them ever heard DJ Matrix. None of them heard
Wow.
any of my music. So I'm
Wow.
like, I got a chance to show my kids that side of me.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. So I put a studio together in the house, and I'm one of these real impatient guys though. So I didn't want to have to read owner's manuals and learn how to do every little thing.
Right.
And making music today is so different than it was back then. I didn't
Yeah.
have access to computers and
Yeah.
digital workstations and all this other kind of stuff. Everything was all analog. DJing was, it was straight vinyl. So when I, looked at what was available to me now, you know, it was intimidating because there was a large learning curve. But what I did is
Mhm.
I just said, you know what, I'm going to take a shortcut. And I just lived on YouTube.
Love
Whatever
that.
I wanted to do musically, I just searched it on YouTube to figure out how to do it with my setup.
Right.
And within a couple of months, I was back. You know what I mean? I was back at it, and I was starting to feel good creatively and everything. And I put a couple concepts down and sent them over to Egyptian Lover, and he was like, "Man, I can see that you having fun, and I can see that you coming, you starting to feel it." And he's like, "These songs, they're great, but they're out there like great for an album. Your comeback single has got to be just like." So strong. And I was
Yeah.
like, I agree with you, but I'm just trying to show you, how I'm progressing here. And he's like,
Right.
man, I love what I'm hearing, just stay in the lab. And I just was like excited that he didn't tell me, you know what, man, I don't think it's gonna work. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
time is come and gone, and you missed a step or whatever. But no, he was like, man, you got it. So I'll never forget a couple weeks later, I don't remember where I was driving, but I was driving somewhere, and all of a sudden the bass line and the melody to Hypnotic just popped into my head.
Love it.
And I literally I pulled over and I hummed it into my phone because again, I can't write music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, when I get an idea like that, I have to put it down or I'll forget it,
Hmm.
So I did. And I was so excited about it that wherever I was going, I said, screw that. I made a U-turn and went back to the studio to lay it down. And
Nice.
that's how, Hypnotic was born.
That's
I
beautiful.
laid it down. I sent it to Egyptian Lover. And, after about, 16 bars, he was like, man, you did it. This is the one. This is your comeback single. And I was like, man, do you want to be on this thing, man? I want you. He was like, absolutely, I want to be on it. So, the song Hypnotic is my song, but it features the Egyptian Lover.
Isn't that
And that's the
wild?
craziest part because Egyptian Lover was the spark that made me want to make music in the first place.
Look at that full
And
circle.
of all the people in the world to reach out to me to bring me back,
That's awesome.
it was him. And he didn't, initially I was thinking he wanted me to do something on his song, but he said, no, man, we gonna put you out and feature me, not the other way around. And I can't tell you what that meant to me. So I
Wow.
know I'm long-winded and you haven't had a chance to ask any
No, I
questions, but
love it. I
when I start
love this.
telling that story, I just can't stop telling that story.
I
So
think
I'm sorry.
it's
Go
no,
ahead.
no. The passion I hear, and it's just so beautiful to hear, like that full circle, like of like your purpose. Like you are it. Like even if we life happens and we live life and things and we do other things, but it doesn't mean that you know who you are. That part of you
Right.
was dead. It was always there. And I think that's so cool, that full circle moment. The very artist that inspired you to pursue music, you have a song with after you come back. That's like
It's
absolutely
crazy.
like that's a movie.
Yeah, it is. And I'm gonna tell you, people, I've been approached already by a number of people talking about a movie situation, a documentary,
You
a
should.
book deal. Want me to do, start podcast because of my, finance background. If the music thing kicks off the way I expect it to do, I can leverage that platform and that access to a lot of people and help a lot more people with financial literacy and my passion for the last 35 years actually has been to help people that look like us
Yeah.
with better access to everything, not just
Yes.
money, but things that help you get ahead in life.
Mhm.
So now I'm sitting in a situation where I think I can do a lot more for our people, but also on the creative side and the music side, I want to be my version of a DJ Khaled or Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
because I want to help other artists rise up,
Right.
and I want to produce, names that no one knows that become household names,
Yeah.
So my end game is not to make a whole lot of albums as DJ Matrix.
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish the album I'm working on right now, and I'm hoping I'm getting that out by middle of next year.
Nice. Congrats on
And,
that.
and, and the next single to follow, Hypnotic, should be in another couple months. But after that, I wanna really focus on helping the next generation.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's what it's really about, right? Because I mean, like you said, I was literally talking to a friend about that. We're just talking about just like change. Like, we want change. We have to be the change that we want to see. So
Correct.
it's so important to just, go reach back and, try to encourage someone to continue, continue on like we are.
Yeah.
What would you what advice would you give producers and DJs who may not only, don't know how to get, really get their name out there or having a hard time figuring it out? What advice would you give them?
Well, first thing is not try to be like anyone else out there. There's, what I've come to realize in this digital age, with the Spotify's of the world and everything like that, access is tremendous. I mean, anybody can submit a song to Spotify
Yeah.
and get it out, you know. So there's millions and millions and millions of artists and producers trying to be heard. And the mistake that I see a lot of them making are they're trying to chase a sound. They're trying to be like what's tops on Billboard right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at who's top on Billboard, these people have set themselves apart because they're not, like the crowd. They've done something different. Now, like with me, my music, and it's always been this way. My voice has always been altered through a vocoder, and it's not like anything that you hear on the radio today.
Right. Mhm.
But it's also me trying to bring back that DJ Matrix feel from the
Yeah.
80s, that big analog, feel, with that heavy bottom. So, I personally, I don't compare myself to anybody else that's out there. And that's a good thing in my eyes. Because when you hear Hypnotic, you have to sit there and go, what is it? How do you
Yeah.
even categorize this? What genre is this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's I call it a hybrid, because there's elements of what I did back in the 80s, but some of you still when you listen to the flow of the lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little hip hop vibe in there. When you listen to the melody and stuff like that, there's some of today's EDM in there. So I'm trying to make sure that I give back to the people that made DJ Matrix,
Yeah.
people that still are playing Feel My Bass and It's Time to Rock. But there's a whole other audience out there that I believe will like what I'm doing, stuff
Absolutely.
like Hypnotic. So, I'm trying to, have as many touch points as I can without, giving up, my identity.
Mm-hmm.
But, going back to your question, I would just tell any new artist, just be you,
Yeah.
don't try to be anybody else.
I love that. I have a one final question that I love asking every guest, and there is no wrong answer, I promise. But the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Well, each one of those are important because once you have them, you can do things with them.
Mhm.
If you get the money, if you're the kind of person like I am, you give back. You try to um, take that money and multiply it in a great way. The power,
Mhm.
same type of situation. If you're in a position of power where you can make change, and you can, touch lives in a way that you couldn't if you didn't have that power, that's important. But
Mhm.
the respect, I think, is the most important to me because, and I'm starting to feel that
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
I put two songs out, okay, back in the 80s. But today, when I speak to legends, okay, that come from that area, that
Yeah.
era, they call me legend.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how humbling that is, to hear some of the biggest names out there. First of all, congratulate me for coming back, the
Mhm.
courage to come back at almost 60 years old, after being out of it for almost 40 years. But they call me legend. And with that, it gives me a more powerful voice, and it gives me better access to people that I can collaborate with to make the kind of change I see that needs to be made.
Mhm.
So I would say the respect is the most important for me because when you have that and people kind of want to work with you, big name people want to kind of work with you,
Yeah.
the money um, tends to come anyway, and the power um, comes with the money. First you get the money, then you got the power.
Yeah.
But respect is most important to me.
I love that. I love that. Um, where can people find you on social media to follow everything you got going on?
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok would be all at the real DJ Matrix. And the reason it's the real DJ Matrix is, that almost 40-year gap from when I put out Feel My Bass, there's a few DJ Matrices that have popped up.
Yeah.
And I gotta set, make sure people understand that I'm the OG, I'm
Right.
the original. So yeah, the real DJ Matrix. And on Spotify, just look up either DJ Matrix or Hypnotic, and you can find my Spotify page. My Shopify store is linked there. So if anybody wants any DJ Matrix merchandise, that's there. If anybody is looking for vinyl right now, I'm distributing my own vinyl.
Awesome.
It's on my own label. Bass Bottom Records is my label. So if anybody reaches out to me on any of my socials and let me know that they're looking for vinyl, um, I can ship that direct to them. I'll autograph it. It'll have Egyptian Lover's autograph on it.
Nice.
So those are the best ways to reach me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I mean, what an amazing, amazing story. I was just glued. I'm like, wow, so
Thank you so
inspiring.
much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to hear this. Is this going to be on Spotify?
Everywhere.
Okay, cool. Cool. I can't wait. I can't wait. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me too, because the more
Absolutely.
that people hear me, the more that they'll hopefully understand that DJ Matrix is back, and it's not just about the music with me. It's I'm more than just the music.
Legacy, legacy. And you're doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming back. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.
Amen.
Bye bye.